know how the algorithms are, can make sure that these information doesn't get out. Make sure we, the 99%, get this information out by texting, tagging, and sharing. Call your friends. Let them know that we have Dr. Scott Stoll, MD, in the classroom today. So we're going to get the video getting started for BitChute and Odyssey and all the podcasts. So here we go. Today is a great day. We're talking about hope, reversal, disease, not in that order. We're going to start disease, reversal, hope. And so clear your mind, and get ready to be in the moment. And the best way to do that is to dance. So here we go. Fasten your seatbelt. It's time to learn and grow together. Here we go.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, as you know, just recently, I shared with you a new documentary called Disease, Reversal, Hope. And from the moment I started watching that, of course, you know, I love Mary Lee Jacobs. And from the moment I started watching that, I felt the passion and dedication of a doctor who wrote the book and was featured in the documentary, Disease, Reversal, Hope, Dr. Scott Stoll, MD. And so because of his dedication and what he's doing, I thought, he needs to come into the classroom. He needs to be our teacher. And guess what? Today's the day. Today, we're going to learn from Dr. Stoll, and we're going to learn how to embrace the recipe for a long life of health. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Scott Stoll is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Stoll, to the classroom.
Thank you, Lillian. It is an honor to be here. And hello to everyone that's joining us. And happy holidays. I'm really delighted to be a part of your classroom. Thank you for the kind invitation.
Oh, from the moment I saw you, and I would love to have the co-author and I think it's Ron. I have the name Dan. Is it Dan?
Yeah.
Yes, Dan Purchase. And I would love to have him as well, because both of you together have seen disease in a different place. So share a little bit about your background and what brought you to this place where you're bringing hope to people that have been breathed death upon them.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. So I was trained just like any other allopathic physician, and I grew up in a family that was always interested in health. My dad would have us do push-ups, while the commercials were on television, and he was eating oat bran and his orange juice. So there was always kind of a mindset of health, but I ate like everybody else did. And going through my sports background in the Olympics, I thought health was eating lots of meat and protein drinks. But as I went through my medical training, I didn't get any background in nutrition or lifestyle. And so I learned that, these are diseases that seem like they're the inevitable consequence of aging. We get older and, if your genes are not great, you develop high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, or cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my job as a doctor to identify it with a good diagnosis and some lab tests or imaging studies, and then figure out the best drug or procedure to manage it. And so I started practicing medicine, and this is probably 2003. After I'd been practicing a little while, I started to hear the same thing over and over. My patients were telling me they were falling apart. And I thought, well, this is kind of what happens as we get older. We fall apart, and it's my job to help duct tape you back together again. So there was a day in my practice, a woman was on the exam table, and she said, "Dr. Stoll, can you help me? I'm falling apart." And so this day I just asked a curious question. It's always a curious question kind of changes our paradigm and opens us up to receive information that we might not have received before or been aware of or open to. So I asked the question, I said, well, what does falling apart actually mean to you? And I assumed it was going to be something on her past medical history list, some kind of pain or surgery or complication. But there was a long pause, and I looked up because of the pause, and I saw tears forming in the corners of her eyes. And she said, "My marriage is falling apart because my husband is so tired of taking care of me." And then she said, "We're facing financial bankruptcy because of the cost of healthcare. I can't travel to see my grandchildren because they live in Washington."
Oh, I think we lost you, Dr. Stoll. Can you hear me? Okay. So, Dr. Stoll, we can't hear him. Okay. So you finished. Okay. So I'm wondering if the blurred background is causing the pixelation. Something is causing the Wi-Fi. So
Let's try going off of that.
Yeah.
You can certainly do that.
Yeah. Something is causing. Yeah. So I want to, you share the story in the documentary, and there's a gym. That's a great picture of health behind you. Okay. So hopefully that'll fix the problem. So her marriage is falling apart. She can't visit her grandchildren. And that's when you cut off.
Right. And so then she asked me, "Can you help me?" And in that moment, I realized that I did not have the skills, the knowledge, the ability to actually help put her life back together again. And I didn't even know if it was possible. So it started me on a personal learning journey to try and understand where disease comes from, and is it possible to actually reverse disease and restore someone's lost quality of life. And during that learning journey, I discovered our plate and our lifestyle habits are far more important and powerful than I ever realized. And for the vast majority of conditions, they can not only prevent and suspend, but largely reverse these diseases and give people back their lives again. And that's exactly what happened. I started using my prescription pad to write breakfast, lunch, and dinner and lifestyle prescriptions, and they were radically transformed right before my eyes.
Wow. What part of the emotional component do you deal with now? Because when you're first going into this journey, it's about the body and how to treat the body as a temple. But then we realize that there's been damage in the emotional component, or there's been other aspects of the body that is holding on resentment or anger or lack of forgiveness. Do you deal with that as well?
Yes, and you're exactly right, Lillian. We can't really delve into helping someone change their lifestyle without coming face to face with some of the emotional challenges of living in a world where you're going to encounter difficulties, heartache, and unfortunately trauma. Mm-hmm. And I've discovered that, our food is so closely linked to our emotional health that, if we're trying to assist someone with making a lifestyle change, asking them to give up certain foods, oftentimes they can't make that kind of a commitment or change until we deal with the inner turmoil, the inner trauma. And as they heal from the inside out, almost a natural response is wanting to care for themselves and understand how to better implement dietary and lifestyle advice. But that sometimes is a real hindrance because, the trauma that gets woven into our cells and into our subconscious and becomes these loops thinking that we often don't know are running. It's that operating system, drive us to make certain lifestyle choices and dietary choices because we just don't know, we don't love ourselves. You know, oftentimes trauma leads to self-hatred, or like you said, unforgiveness, bitterness, or resentment. And so it's hard to love yourself by making healthy lifestyle choices when you have all of that internal angst and storm going on. So yes, in fact, I always start my immersions, and I'll just toss this back to you. I used to start my immersions like, you are what you eat, and we would begin there. But over the last number of years, I start with, you are what you think and believe about yourself. And we work from that place.
That's great, because Dr. Lee Cowden has been a great teacher, a reoccurring teacher in the classroom. And he once said, and I'm a certified life coach, and I know these things, but he said it so beautifully that I have to share it every time I can. And he basically said, a lot of people want to fix the body. They'll spend a lot of money with surgery, or they'll cosmetic procedures, but the bottom line is it could cost a lot of money, and it might take a long time to get it to where you want it to get. But when you fix the spirit and the mind, it's amazing how inexpensively the body can heal. And I just thought, wow, I never even thought of that, because it is a trickle down kind of feel. And so when I see the passion about food and then you talk about the emotional, you're talking about the person who's crying, who's showing you emotion. Many people overlook that part. So I'm so glad that you've made that connection and that you are helping your patient's spirit, mind, and body, because that's, people can eat pristine, but if their thoughts are hateful thoughts, of criticism and self-loathing, then that food is not going to be as good for them. So in your immersion, do you spend time talking about the emotional component of food?
We spend probably half of our time talking about emotional well-being and the emotional connections to food and mindfulness. And I call it an emotional change of clothes, helping people to take off
okay, guys. So this is I don't know why there's a complication here with the internet, but I'm sure he will come back and he will finish his story. Oh, there you go. You left us for a while there again.
I'm so sorry for this.
Internet's not working really well in Tennessee, so hopefully we'll be able to get you back every time. And if you drop off by chance, just get back on the call, and then you'll be able to do that.
I apologize.
No, half the time you're saying. That's incredible. But you said that you were talking about the clothing that you're taking.
Yes, I walk people through like an emotional change of clothes, where we take off unforgiveness, bitterness, anger, resentment, self-hatred, and begin putting on love, kindness, compassion, gentleness. And as we begin changing those emotional clothes, we really see a transformation in people, and it allows them to make a lasting lifestyle change.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And that's a very important part of the recipe that you're sharing today for lifelong lived with health. And so moving forward, how soon after you started practicing medicine? And by the way, I've only met one other physiatrist, and he did a prolo shot on my show, a prolotherapy on my show. And so good for you. Physiatry is such a unique specialty. So how did you stumble upon physiatry?
I was in medical school, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I loved surgery, but I did not like the lifestyle. And when I finally made a decision, my fourth year of med school, not to go into surgery, sometimes, when we make those decisions, other doors open. And a friend of mine said, hey, have you ever thought about physiatry? There's still procedures and musculoskeletal medicine, but it has a better lifestyle for your family. And you really have this unique opportunity to connect with patients. So I did a couple of rotations and.
So we lost you again. So let's see. Okay, while he is on hold here, I just want to direct you guys to whenyouneedafriend.com. And maybe it's me who is maybe it's me. I don't know. Robert is so yes, you're back. You're back. Okay.
So
So
sorry.
yeah, the internet's not it's I don't know if there's anything that's open on your computer. So we'll
I
see.
got it closed down on my computer.
Yeah. Okay, so let's keep going. Let's keep going. Okay, so after you're learning all these wonderful tools that you have, at what point do you start incorporating it? Did you have to go and relearn medicine and lifestyle medicine? How did you come upon it if you weren't taught it in medical school?
No, you're exactly right. I had my own classroom, and I started learning on my own. I went back to the literature, I read books, I went and spent time with amazing physicians around the country. Dr. Joel Furman was not far away. I spent time with him.
He's a teacher in the classroom, yeah.
So I learned. And as I learned over the course of a couple of years, we started at home. We changed our home. We started, I started with a little Sunday afternoon class in my home for 6 weeks. And then I started incorporating it into my practice in like 2003, 2004. And it just took off from there. In 2008, I was asked to serve on the scientific advisory board at Whole Foods, and that turned into our health immersions. And from there, things really accelerated.
That's great. Look, when you say yes to life, and even if you feel uncomfortable, you say yes to it. It's amazing how many doors open. And curiosity, I always say, be curious, not critical. So curiosity is always the start of a journey, especially when there's discomfort. So from there, now you've written a book called Disease Reversal Hope, and that book has turned into this wonderful documentary that I highlighted with Mary Lee Jacobs not too long ago. So share a little bit about how that came about and why you wrote the book.
Yeah, as I've gone through this journey during, these many years now and worked with so many people, and I've seen them reverse disease. They've come through my office doors or through our health immersions that we've done. And they always come in not only with disease diagnoses, but they're hopeless. And it's because medicine doesn't offer any hope. And medicine doesn't offer any hope because we're never taught that there is hope. And so I found that many times patients will enter into healthcare, they'll get a diagnosis, and healthcare gives a lot of bad news and delivers no good news and no hope. And so they come in dejected and hopeless. Mm. And I found through the years that when I just simply tell them that, it's possible to reverse your disease and restore your quality of life, to live a vibrant life, to be healthy and active, to reduce or have no pain, to get off your medications, sometimes they think, well, this is too good to be true, but I see a spark of hope that lights up, and their imagination begins to see a different future. And those two things I found to be, essential to then the delivery of information, the recipe that we'll talk about in a minute, that, really does lead to health. But you have to have hope and a different imagined future in order to really sustain a lifestyle change.
Yes, that's wonderful. So what are some of the tips? First of all, we talked about the emotional component, the mindset. Is there anything in the recipe that you would like to share with us today that incorporates the mindset before we even start talking about, all the other ingredients?
Sure, and you're right. Mindset and what we believe and think is the critical component. That's the base of the recipe. If we're going to make something, that's the critical element. And along the mindset, like Viktor Frankl talked about, we have to have a sense of meaning in our lives. If we don't have purpose and meaning, something to live for, as Viktor Frankl experienced, those people are swept underneath by life. And so my first recommendation for everyone is, if you don't have meaning and purpose in your life, spend time finding purpose and meaning. Everybody has a gift to share. Everybody has an important role to play in this life. And, spending time with people like yourself, pastors, leaders, life coaches, to help pull that out and discover something that's exciting is really critical. The next is get rid of negative mindsets. We've been programmed by our culture in so many ways to think things that are not true. And allowing yourself the freedom and the space to identify those and to hold space for recognizing that some of these thoughts and mindsets are not our own, and that we need to get rid of them. We need to take out some of the garbage from the mindsets and believe that things are possible, believe that you're valuable, believe that you're worthwhile, that you are a worthy person, believe that you are loved. All of these things are so important, and, beginning to.
Okay, so we lost him again. Okay, so let's see how much time we have left in the program. I think it's just a temporary thing, and yeah, he's frozen, not me. Robert.
Okay, Lily,
okay.
Here.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'll just simply add there at the end, I was saying that these pathways from mindsets develop like, going from a single footpath. And the more often we think these things, the same thoughts over and over, our body lays down bricks. They connect these thoughts in our mind, like building a road. So the more frequently we think something, the more frequently we believe something, it goes from a single footpath to a 4-lane highway. And so as we're beginning to kind of unravel some of these mindsets that have hindered our success or beliefs about what's possible with our health, we have to tear up some of these old roads. Mm-hmm. And I just encourage people, it takes time. If you're tearing up a 4-lane highway, it takes time to tear that highway down and build a new road, and to just recognize that it's okay to take time to think new thoughts, to develop new mindsets, and to deconstruct some of those old mindsets that were a hindrance in our lives.
Mm-hmm. That's great. That's great. And, I often ask people to write all these negative thoughts, rumination. You can ruminate of what could go wrong, or you can ruminate of what is going well in your life. And so I ask them to write all these thoughts that they've had since they were their childhood. And so if they're negative, on the right side, they write something positive, like so that then they think this, then instead of thinking this, they have a new thought already prepared. And that's the direction they go in to rewrite the program. It's the only way that they can master, a healthy life. The only way.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. So what's next on your recipe?
So next, once we get mindsets, belief systems in place, the next most important piece, I really believe is dealing with stress. Normally I would say food. Many years ago, I would say food's the next most important piece, but I've come to see that stress is a wild card. And oftentimes, if we don't get stress under control, if we don't learn how to, I don't like the word manage, because we really want to mitigate or remove stress. Mm-hmm. And so if we don't learn how to remove stress and not allow stress to become internalized, then the best laid plans of a diet or a lifestyle choice get uprooted at some point, because stress again comes in like a tsunami and overwhelms life, breaks those habits, and breaks the patterns that people were establishing. So the next most important step is learning how to remove stress from your life and understand stress and understand what it is.
Do you have sub-bullets because some people, it might be meditation, it might be, forgiveness work. What are some of the recommendations for your patients that you have?
Well, it's just like weeding a garden. We have to pull things up by the roots to get the weeds out and not just cut the tops off. So when we're looking at stress, it's really a personal journey of identifying what are those core stressors for me. For someone, stress might be really just financial stress. Is the primary driver of stress. And so understanding that and then getting a financial counselor. For someone else, it might be relational stress, and they need to go through a healing cycle of healing that relationship, maybe even marriage counseling. For someone else, it might be a past trauma in their life. Going through trauma healing, trauma counseling is essential. But for all of us, working to calm our minds through prayer and to focus on our breath, and to keep stress out here and not allow it to internalize with the busyness of life is essential. And one of the things that I've always found that helps with stress is just to constantly refocus on what's most important in life. What will matter 10 years from now? What will matter 20 years from now? And, just that little question that I ask myself, regularly on a daily basis helps me to kind of reorganize some of those, the attention and energy that I might give to some of those outside factors.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So what's the next ingredient in your recipe?
Next ingredient is the food that you put on your plate. Do you know how many pounds of food we eat in a year?
No, tell me.
2,000 pounds of food passes through our body every single year. 58 million calories or so in a lifetime. And so the power of that 2,000 pounds or 58 million calories passing through our cells is far more impactful than I think we even realize today with the science that we have. Every time we put a bite of food in our mouths, it has an impact on our cellular physiology within 2 to 4 hours. Food is never neutral. Whenever we eat something, it has an effect. There's the cause of food and the effect of food inside of our bodies. For example, they can follow that when someone eats either processed food, a sugar, maybe too much animal protein, it causes a spike of inflammation in 2 to 4 hours inside of the artery. What's really interesting in this one interventional trial, not only did it cause a spike of inflammation, but it caused a spike of depression and social disconnection.
Wow.
And so, we're talking about mindsets and beliefs, and food can actually change the way that we see ourselves and feel about the world because of that inflammation in the brain. And I found through the years that it's very common when I work with people or they come to our immersions, that within a week's time, they say, I haven't felt this mentally clear since I was 18 years old because the inflammation is gone.
Wow.
And so that the food that we put on our plate is essential. It not only prevents disease, but it reverses disease in a very short period of time. Type 2 diabetes, autoimmune diseases, heart disease, prevents cancer, prevents dementia, optimizes for children their cognitive function, their performance in school. And really, it makes us feel good every day. You get out of bed and you have energy. You don't have pain. Your mind is clear. The daily benefits sometimes far outweigh the disease reversal benefits.
It's interesting because when I first started in this journey, because I mentioned to you in radio, and one time this guy came to the station and he had this raw vegan food and he was offering it to all these other people. And I'm like, gosh, it tasted so good. I'm like, why do you give it to them? Bring it to me. If you come, I'll work for food. So come on into the show. And he challenged me to go raw vegan for 1 month. And what was interesting was, I accepted the challenge, and about 4 days after I accepted the challenge, I felt really, really good. And it wasn't that I felt bad. I just didn't know I could feel better. And we have really accommodated ourselves, just gotten so comfortable with feeling bad. It's just like the process. So when you're talking about food and the importance of food, the vegan community has done the same thing to vegan food as they've done to the standard American diet. They've made it really, really, but you're talking about a whole food plant-based diet. So can you share a little bit more about the food that you put on your plate?
That's right. So, when we look at the number one nutritional deficiency in America today, it's not protein, it's actually.
Okay, we lost them again. So this time, what I'm going to do, since it's in the 30-minute mark, I'm just going to go ahead and keep talking. I want to encourage all of you to come to whenyouneedafriend.com, because he'll be coming back too. Come to whenyouneedafriend.com. When you come to whenyouneedafriend.com, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share and like and follow all social media. Check out all the different things that we are doing in the classroom, the events. Like, for example, we've got an event for Dr. Thomas Levy. We got an event for the I Am the Solution, which is a natural health summit. We're doing so many things. We have products. So if you go to the Shop Now bag, you can find those products as well. And Dr. Stoll, see if you can find a place that has better Wi-Fi. Maybe you can, because I'm going to talk about my website, and then you can maybe find something around that might work. So Okay, so you also go, if you go to when you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, it does pop up. It just pops up and you can see the Dr. Levy's, we're going to teach doctors. He's going to teach doctors how to follow the protocols that he knows. And so I want to encourage all of you to take this information to your doctors, practitioners, because even if they're functional, they may not know this information. So help your doctors help you by having them attend this event. Also, the I Am the Solution Natural Health Summit, which is January 21st, 2023. So let's take our health back in sunny, beautiful Florida in January. We also have the Shop Now bag, and all these products that are there can help improve your life. These are all Lilly approved. And today's the last day. If you've been waiting to get some Nutrimetics products, maybe you're going through the M-Cube detox experience, today's the last day you can get, you put in code Lilly, Lilly, and you get 35% off all your Nutrimetic products. So check them out. So check out the Shop Now bag, check out my sponsor, make sure you support our sponsor the way that they are supporting the classroom. Then you, last but not least, can become an enrolled student in the classroom. Help by texting, tagging. You can help with your, with financially, whether it's $1, $1,000, a one-time donation, or a recurring donation. Anything you can do with your time, your talent, your treasure is very greatly appreciated. Today, we're talking to Dr. Scott Stoll, and he is featured in the documentary. He's a physiatrist, an MD physiatrist, featured in the documentary Disease Reversal Hope. It's a wonderful documentary, and I want to encourage all of you to watch this because it will motivate you into trying something different and new, so that you can achieve something different and new. Dr. Stoll is also a co-author of the book, so you can get the book or you can get the video. Where can they can get the video now, Dr. Stoll?
I believe it's on Amazon Prime. It's on Apple. You can just look it up and download it and watch.
Absolutely,
it's beautiful to see stories of people come to life.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Okay, so where are we with the food? Because I talked about the whole food plant-based community that has come forward. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Right. So there is, it's really important as you are making that distinction to recognize that, plant-based may or may not be healthy. And there's a lot of science now coming out to show that if you have an unhealthy plant-based diet, that's a lot of processed food and meat alternatives, that diet is equally unhealthy to the standard American diet. In fact, your risks of type 2 diabetes and heart disease may actually be slightly higher on the unhealthy plant-based diet than on a standard American diet. So the aspect of your diet that really brings life and health to your vibrancy to your body are whole plant foods. Trying to eat them as close to the way they were grown, being gentle and compassionate as you're cooking them, and using lots of spices and herbs to flavor those foods that add additional exceptional nutritional benefit. That's the meal that actually heals the body. In fact, I've taken care of a lot of people that have been on vegan diets, vegetarian diets, very unhealthy, same diseases as the population. Transitioning them to a whole food plant-based diet, those diseases go away. And so you're absolutely right. We have to be careful that we recognize that it's not processed plants, it's plants that come right out of the dirt that make the biggest difference in our health.
Yeah, in the documentary Disease Reversal Hope, you guys really highlight the importance of good nutrition. And I love the way that you picked, because from the book, I'm sure that there's more people that you highlighted than in the documentary, because there's only so much you can do. But the people that you did highlight did a great job at explaining what their life was before, during, and now after. Were there any stories along the way that you wrote about that, that like, this is the number one story I tell people when trying to get them to understand the importance of food? Is there one particular one that always comes to your heart first?
Yeah, one of the first stories that I tell is Marcy Madrid, who's both in the book and the movie. And Marcy is a vice president at a hospital. So she's in healthcare. She's a mother of 7, very busy mom, loves and passionate about her gift. And she developed multiple sclerosis, 2015. And I met her while I was doing a grand rounds at Midland Hospital. And, you know, her life, she went through the traditional medical channels, taking the medications, had side effects, and was almost on the verge of disability. You know, she was barely making it through the day. She would come home in the evening after working and lay on the couch, and her husband would have to pick up the extra work. She was not able to attend her children's school plays and music events and sporting events. And so the quality of her life was imploding before her eyes, and healthcare had no answers. And she actually had scheduled a visit with a leading neurologist in Dallas. I saw her in November of 2015. This was going to be in June of 2016. So Marcy, you know, at a place of hopelessness, took on that little seed of hope that was planted when I said, you know what, there is a better way and there is another way. And so she changed her lifestyle, removed the stress, whole food, plant-based diet. You know, she was so weak, she could not exercise. So it was just getting a good night's sleep and removing stress. And by the time she got to see the specialist in Dallas, all of her symptoms had completely resolved. She was symptom-free. And when they repeated her MRI of her brain and her cervical cord, her neck, all of the inflammatory lesions that were there in November of 2015 had completely resolved. She had gone into remission. And this specialist in Dallas said, I have never seen this in my entire life. What are you doing? And because of her example, he is helping other patients now find a different pathway.
Wonderful. That's great. That's even greater news, because some of the doctors that I've encountered and I know about, and some of the people that I've spoken to, when someone comes and says, this is what I did, they'll go, okay. And they move on to, you know, what prescriptions do you need? But to find a doctor that is curious enough to learn more so that they can help, that's phenomenal. Good job. Yes. That was a great story, because, you know, when you have children, you're at the prime of your life, you're surrounded by health, supposedly, you know, you work at a hospital, you're supposed to be healthy. And unfortunately, doctors die of the same diseases that they are trying to prescribe medication for with you, with anybody that is diseased. So food is important. Is there anything else you want to say about food before we move on to the next ingredient?
I just, you know, the things with food is that I've seen we often underestimate, you know, the unhealthy food that we're eating, and we overestimate the healthy food that we're eating. And so I always just want people to be aware and just conscious to make really good choices, and always think about going back to whole plant foods, because the culture is this, it's like a cultural current, like the Mississippi current that pulls you down towards the Gulf of Mexico. And so we have to be in community to swim upstream, and always kind of readjust our diet back to that baseline. You know, we can have these little excursions. We always got to come back to the baseline.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So what's next on our ingredient list?
Next on the ingredient list might surprise you, but it's community. You know, we have to live in community. We are born to live in community, connected in relationship with other people. We cannot sustain, you know, change in any part of our lives without being connected in a powerful community. And so, you know, if we're trying to go it alone in a world that does not support, you know, your vision for life, your lifestyle, your healthy diet, the world will eventually drag you down. And it takes a tremendous amount of energy to fight that battle alone. But if we're in community, community is powerful and inspiring, and it has this kind of multiplied effect in our lives. In fact, you know this as a life coach. When we look at the power of community, it not only impacts, you know, our financial position, it not only impacts, you know, our social status, our health, but it also impacts our weight and our microbiome. The 100 trillion bacteria that live in our gut, they have found that your microbiome becomes like the microbiome of your 5 best friends, just the same way that your income becomes similar to the income of your 5 best friends. We share everything. And so when we develop healthy communities and we're sharing these things with each other, sharing healthy mindsets and encouragement and inspiration and imagination. We actually share a healthy microbiome, and that healthy microbiome actually modulates the number of calories that your body absorbs from your food. It pushes out extra cholesterol and estrogen, helping to balance those things. Builds neurotransmitters for your brain, including serotonin, boosts your mood. So, I mean, that we don't understand, I think, how powerful community really is and essential it is to change. And so that's my next ingredient is establish yourself in a really dynamic, loving, supportive community of people that are going the same direction.
Oh, I love that one because, I do a workshop called I Am the Solution. And in the solution, being part of the solution is being part of identifying a need of being part of a community. And I talk about the centenarians and the study that they did where they were trying to find what they had in common. And they thought maybe they all ate well. Nope, they didn't all eat well. And maybe they didn't smoke. Well, some of them smoked, or maybe they didn't drink. Some of them drank. So the one thing they had in common was a sense of belonging. They felt that they had, a life, that they had purpose in this community. And I believe that it's like 45% cause to early death for people that feel lonely and don't feel part of a community. So that is so important. I'm glad that you have this as part of your ingredient. Thank you. What else do you have as far as your ingredients?
Next is a good night's sleep. We don't know the power of a good night's sleep. All of the research, when you look at all of the studies, no matter how many times you try to go back and find something different, the studies show you have to sleep 7 to 8 hours every night. There's no way around it. Our bodies were also designed to react to the light. And so the studies show that when we shift our bedtime to later at night, or we work night shifts and are trying to sleep during the day, our physiology is upside down. We develop inflammation, our hormones are disrupted, and all-cause risk of death goes up substantially, between 30 and 40% when we don't sleep well. And when you look at your hormones, your body was built to go to bed around 11 o'clock and wake up around 6 o'clock. Growth hormone starts right after midnight, and that's an essential component of rebuilding your body. It's kind of that restructuring, reorganizing, rebuilding. Your brain goes into a kind of cleanup and rebuilding phase as well. There's like a janitorial component that happens at nighttime in your brain that if you're not sleeping, that just doesn't happen. And that's why the studies show that when you don't sleep, not only does your cognitive performance go down in school, but you can be just as disabled in fine motor tasks as someone that's drunk when you're not sleeping. And so you've got to sleep. It's actually a stressor on the body and will drive unhealthy eating patterns as well.
But what about sleep disruption? Because there are many places that have a lot of Wi-Fi. They have a lot of maybe light coming in a window. What is your advice for someone who is waking up between those hours? Then maybe they go to bed between the hours of 10 and 2. I mean, they go to bed before, so they can have that restorative sleep, but they wake up sometime maybe after that 2 o'clock in the morning, or because of the environment is not conducive to a true night's sleep.
Yeah, excellent point, Lillian. We have to create a healthy environment. If we think back 1,000 years ago, the sun went down and people went to bed.
Yeah.
There was no ambient light other than maybe a moon that came out, and no disruptions. So like a very quick sleep hygiene prescription would be, yes, you're right, absolutely. A dark room is essential. So if you have to get, blackout shades or turn lights off, turn Wi-Fi off in your room, do so. Make your room quiet.
Or like a silk mask for your face, which is what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, or put in some, ear protection to quiet the room if there's a lot of noise outside. But yes, either a mask or creating a dark space is very important. Temperature is important. They found that, your room temperature should be around 68 degrees. If the room is too warm, you may wake up and have sleep disruption. Obviously, don't drink caffeine after noon. it's interesting. We shouldn't eat after 6 p.m. They found that when you eat after 6 p.m., your stomach produces 50% more acid, and you're more likely to have reflux symptoms at night when you eat too much food. So ideally, we should eat 5 o'clock or earlier and just be done eating. For those people that are struggling with going to the bathroom at night, you cut off your liquids 4 hours before bed. Make sure that you don't have to get up and use the facilities in the middle of the night. Creating a safe place at night by turning off all of your screens at least an hour before bed is really important. They found that the screen light disrupts the sleep-wake cycle and melatonin in your brain, and it also can be very difficult. There's a lot of interesting research that we won't go into now, but we could at another time.
Wow.
No TVs in the bedroom. I know people don't like that, but that is very disruptive to sleep. You don't get into that deep, slow wave sleep. Put your phone away, put your tablets away, quiet music, and make sleep something valuable and important, and look forward to it. Create a beautiful space to go to sleep.
I like that. I really like that. Okay, what's next in your ingredient list?
So the next one is activity. And I didn't use the word exercise on purpose, because I found through the years when you use the word exercise, some people have like immediate, like the cat startle, right, when they see a cucumber. It's because of PE class in school, or, gyms and bad experiences. So it's just learning to be active. And the research is pretty exciting to show that, it doesn't even have to be in a 30-minute block every day. You can do 3 10-minute blocks during the day, or 6 5-minute blocks of activity. That all adds up to improve your health. And it's really just finding something you love to do. We have kind of compartmentalized exercise into weightlifting, aerobics, bicycling, spin class, but it's really just finding something you love to do and do it vigorously. If it's dancing, if it's hiking, if it's working outside, if it's playing soccer with the children, whatever it is, just learning to be active as frequently as possible. And I encourage people also with redeeming the time. We have lots of little 5-minute or 2-minute blocks during the day when we just are sitting, and we could do other things. We could, if we're on the phone, and I do this oftentimes, I'll just do a wall sit while I'm talking on the phone to strengthen my leg.
Great idea.
We turn on a movie at night. I always sit on the floor and I'll do some core exercise and stretching while I'm watching the movie. And so you're just redeeming some of those lost blocks of time. There are even exercise programs on airplanes that I do, and sitting in the car. And there's lots of ways to kind of pull back time and weave in more activity inside of our busy lives.
I love that. One of the I'm affiliated with is B3 Sciences, BFR bands. They're blood flow restriction bands. And because we don't have a lot of time, what I love about them is I put them on and I can do 5 pounds and it's as if I was doing 15 pounds. And so I like to maximize that. But what a great idea to be able to sit on a wall, because I would put on my bands so I can maximize that, because the brain will be like start releasing the growth hormones because it thinks I'm going to be doing something much better. But there are little hacks that we can do. And I love those hacks that we can incorporate into our regular life, because we have become so sedentary. And people say, I don't have time to exercise. Yeah, but did you have time to watch that entire show on the sofa? So that's a great way to look at television and do things and do life and find those little moments. So good. Anything else about activity?
Important things about activity that as we get older, it's really important to do weight-bearing exercise and strength exercise. Mm-hmm. One of the things that happens as we get older is we lose fast twitch muscle fibers. Mm-hmm. And it's not always due to aging. It's oftentimes due to the lack of use. We just don't use those fast twitch muscle fibers. And those are the muscle fibers that will save us from a fall and perhaps breaking a bone. If you catch your toe and you're falling forward and you put your leg out, if you have those fast twitch muscle fibers, it contracts and you save yourself the fall. But if you don't have the fast twitch muscle fibers, you go right down to the ground. And so I always encourage people, as you get older, the tendency is just to go for walks, but add in some strengthening exercises. It has so many benefits, not only for muscle strength, but for safety, for fall prevention, And as you know, boosting growth hormone has an impact on growing new brain cells. So there's lots of benefits, adding in some heavier weightlifting. I'll just end with one more study. They did a study on very frail elderly people in a nursing home, and they put them on a heavy weightlifting program, like 3 repetitions with heavy weights. And in 12 weeks, people were getting out of wheelchairs, turning over their walkers, depression was going away, they were more active. And so, that kind of activity as we get older is really important.
It's amazing, amazing. Now, how many more do we have for ingredients for the recipe for a long, healthy life? Do we have it? Because I want to before I ask questions, I want to be able to get to it.
No, we're going to just keep it at that simple recipe. If you do those few things, it turns out beautifully every single time.
Perfect. So that gives me an opportunity to ask a question from the audience. Can you give the preferred menu for a day? That's a big question here. There's a plantritionproject.org. You can go to plantritionproject.org to learn more about the diet. Also, can you share a little bit about Plantrition University?
Sure. And just for that person that asked the question, we have a free download on plantritionproject.org. That's a quick start guide in a bunch of languages. And so you can download that. It's a beautiful guide that will outline what a diet looks like, why we're choosing certain foods, and even some recipes at the end. So they can go and download that for free today, plantritionproject.org. And I'll come back and answer more of that in just a second. Plantrition Project is a not-for-profit that we started to educate healthcare professionals about food as medicine, knowing that every single healthcare professional reaches 20,000 people in their lifetime. And so if we can empower one physician or one healthcare provider or nurse practitioner, they're reaching 20,000 people, and those 20,000 are also connected to 2 or 3 more. So it has an exponential effect. And this year, we're launching Plantrition University, which is a free learning management platform for every healthcare professional student in the world. We want to reach 100,000 healthcare professional students and faculty in the next 5 years. They can log on for free. We have courses that are being added on a monthly basis, along with all the information that we've done in the last 10 years. So we want to go upstream and kind of intervene in that educational process right from the beginning so people can learn in parallel. That you can find more plantritionuniversity.org or plantritionproject.org.
That's
and then real quick to answer that question, my diet, I try to keep it simple because simple is reproducible and sustainable. So I love to do a big green smoothie in the morning, maybe some oatmeal. I've really moved myself to 2 meals a day. So over lunch, I'll just have some vegetables and a piece of fruit. And then we eat a beautiful dinner. Half of our plate is some kind of a beautiful green salad. 25% is a cooked steamed vegetable, broccoli, cauliflower with turmeric or something. And the other 25% is a cooked dish. And this is where you would do soup, stews, casseroles, curries, whatever you want to put there, with full of lots of vegetables, mushrooms, beans, lentils, chickpeas, spices, and herbs. So that kind of a layout for me is always simple and reproducible. And I found that just going down to 2 meals a day makes it even easier.
Wow, that's great. That is, you really know your stuff. You're just like Dr. Joel Furman when he comes in. He's been coming into the classroom once a month since 2015. And some of the things, one of the things I want to add about I love how you say activity, and we only have about a minute left and a minute or 2 left. But when he was talking about walking sideways, it's like, people don't walk with your foot crossing over the other foot. He says that's the biggest reason people fall. And so we did a workout together where on the show that he taught us how to do some of these different exercises that we don't even think about. So I am so grateful to you. If you guys want to learn more about Dr. Stoll, you can go to plantritionproject.org. That's plantritionproject.org, and then learn about Plantrition University. Invite your doctors, invite your practitioners to learn more. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing to just encourage people to take their health back. One more thought about hope. What can you tell people that are just tuning in right now? Maybe they missed the broadcast and that you want to encourage them to watch the entire class.
Yeah, hope is the essential ingredient to everything in life. And if you don't have hope, I want you to connect with Lillian because she will inspire hope inside of you. And once you have hope, you can begin to see a different future. So you have the greatest resource right here, Lillian McDermott, to find hope.
Oh, that's so sweet. That is so kind of you. Okay, once again, it's Dr. Scott Stoll, and he is, if you can find him at plantritionproject.org, that's plantrition, and I'll put his link below, and you'll have it because if you are a subscriber, you already have his information. And thank you so much, and please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Dr. Scott Stoll, wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Oh, yes, there we go. Good job. Good job. Here we
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Thank you guys for watching today. And thank you, Dr. Stoll, for coming on today and sharing your just unbelievable message. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lillian.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow.